Things were happening. One, several times the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday loads that I was counting on to go to him to get paid miles. I get paid by the mile, not by the hour. They were canceled. Now, for a while, I didn't mind too much. For example, I was able to, instead of going to Hemet on Friday and then getting to Southern California back to Phoenix on Saturday and get home Saturday night, I enjoyed a couple long weekends, but it got to be a hassle. Like yesterday, what happened was I was talking to my driver manager, and the load again was canceled. The Monday load. In fact, the Monday load, the Winco load, didn't even happen. So there it was. I went in extra early, got an empty, and I'm kind of losing track of everything. But the bottom line is, everything kept getting blown up, and it just got to be a hassle. In a perfect world, if it worked out to where I went to him at Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I had a good load going back to Phoenix on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and it was like a regular, like a job, like when you go to a job, a regular job where you punch a clock, and you have to be at work at 8 o'clock. You can count on when you go to work at 8 o'clock, and you get off at 5, and you go home. Well, trucking, it doesn't work that way. And then when you add the fact that the dedicated was not working as planned, what happened yesterday is I just told my driver manager, Michael, yesterday afternoon, when I got to Southern California, there wasn't any freight going back to Phoenix. There wasn't. In fact, he got to the point, he said, the only load we have in Southern California is a load that picks up tonight at 7:30 or 19:30 tonight. And I had started my clock earlier in the day because I did have, to backtrack a little bit, instead of having the Winco load on Monday that went from the Winco distribution center in Phoenix to Southern California, we had to get another load to replace that. So what Michael set me up for, which wasn't bad, it's actually a decent load, I've done it many, many times, was a deadhead from Phoenix, Arizona to Yuma, Arizona, which is about 200 miles or about a 4-hour drive, and then picking up a Johnson Control load, which was batteries from Johnson Controls going to AutoZone in Ontario, which was right by the Knight Fontana yard. So in essence, he replaced the Phoenix to Southern California load with another Southern California load that still had the same amount of miles. So that kind of replaced the one I lost. But then once I dropped off the AutoZone load, they didn't have an empty, so then that was a problem. I didn't have an empty for my next load. Fortunately, I managed to find an empty in the Fontana yard, but then he was going to give me another load that evening. It just didn't work. So I finally said, Michael, I've been trying to do this dedicated, but I just would rather just go back over the road. And then he checked with Madeline, who I've talked a lot about. Madeline's the in charge of our whole drive van division, and she knows me, and she's worked with me, and she's real cool. She told Michael, just take him off the dedicated, let him just do the road, and I'll get someone else to do the dedicated. So that's where I'm at. So we ended up, the only thing we could do yesterday was do the load I'm on right now, was picking up a Carson City, or Carson, it was actually Carson, which is near Long Beach, to Sacramento. So I got to that load. This, if you're not in the trucking business, this is all going to be Chinese to you. You probably already lost, but I'll just finish my train of thought. I got to the load at my very first over-the-road load, which I really didn't like, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I went to Carson, which is basically the Long Beach area, got there, and it was just a zoo at the shipper. It was like hot. I should have filmed it. It was just, the docks were just full of trucks, and trucks were exiting and trucks were going in. It was just a big hodgepodge of trucks. There was like 5 trucks when I got there, and it was a preloaded trailer, night trailer, not a live load, but all the other trucks were trying to back into the docks and pull out of the docks. They were all doing live loads. and it was just a big mess. So fortunately, in the midst of all of that, this fellow came out who managed, the guard managed the trucks coming and going, came out to me and said, okay, the good news is that night trailers are preloaded, so you don't have to go in line here. He said, you don't have to go online with all these other trucks. And the good news is your preloaded trailer is ready. The bad news is this whole hodgepodge of this whole bunch, all these trucks coming and going, it's going to probably take you 2 hours to get through here and back to your trailer. So what happened is we just took care of the paperwork. In other words, the bill of lading, all the paperwork for my load. And I told him I only have like 4 hours left on my clock. I'm just not gonna do this tonight. Why don't we just take care of the paperwork? I'll park out in the street outside the docks, and I'll come back out after my 10-hour break around 3 in the morning when there's nothing going on, and drop my empty trailer, pick up my loaded trailer, and the paperwork's all done, and just leave. And he agreed to that. So that's what I did. I went out to the street and basically took my full 10-hour break. And then I went in with my empty, dropped my empty, and picked up the loaded trailer. All my bill lading and all the paperwork is done. The guard just, at night, the guard that replaced the other guard just had to confirm the seal. And then I left about 3 o'clock in the morning with my load going to Sacramento, which was supposed to be delivered this morning at 7. Yesterday Michael said, okay, I got a load for Carson, and it's picking up tonight at 19:30, and it has to be delivered tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. I said, Michael, that's impossible. I can't do that. It's not doable. I'll do the load, but I can't be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, the bottom line, I'm here 7 minutes into this little video explanation. I'm here on my first over-the-road load going to Sacramento, which was about 400 miles. Still relatively short load for over the road, but it's my first one. But it just turned into kind of a mess, almost as bad as the dedicated. So I'm anxiously ready to get into a groove where I actually normally just go over to, I get my load. It tells me where the shipper is, where I'm delivering, where my fuel solutions are, my route plan, and it works. I go to the shipper and everything is smooth. So what's going to happen is I'm going to probably deliver this like later this afternoon. And but to backtrack, I want to talk about the video I just shot, and where I pieced together some video that I shot myself back in 2007, so it was 14 years ago. All the video footage I had on a disc, and the discs were old, so they kind of skipped in places. And I was actually, as I started saying on the explanation, I was actually playing, I put the disc, which had the videos that I shot in 2007, I put them in a disc player, played them through my TV at home, and took my iPhone and just recorded the video off of the TV, okay, to the best I could, because I got a DVD player that I thought would work with my laptop, so I'd be able to load the DVDs onto my laptop and convert it into a digital file, to where then I can draw right off the digital format, but it didn't work. So the next option is to take those DVDs and send them in somewhere to where they can make them into a file, to where I'm not recording off of the DVD or the TV or whatever. Because the reason why those DVDs are so important, and this is really what I wanted to clarify, the reason why those DVDs are so important are a number of reasons. In my whole driving to Tokyo, in fact, I told Mike when we started our 90-day project, he said, what are some of the expectations you have? I said, this might sound funny, but I want to make a driving to Tokyo documentary, a film of some kind, and I have a story in mind. It's my story, and what happened is when I found these DVDs, it just added to the story, and also the clarification of what was happening in 2007 in reference to what's happening today, in connection with the whole driving to Tokyo story that I had in my mind. So what was happening, there's a couple times I was watching the DVD that I was recording off the screen, and there's a couple places that I was watching and I accidentally moved the camera to where you could see that I was recording on the TV, whereas you see the TV, That's why originally when I was going to do it, I thought I'll just not try to hide it. I'll try to just say, okay, I'm recording these this video footage off of the TV because it's the only way I can capture this for you, and I'm recording this on my my iPhone, and then having a shot where it's back far enough where you actually see the TV itself, TV screen, with the actual footage, so that I wasn't so concerned about if it was obvious that I was recording off a TV screen. I thought I'd do it that way because I thought it'd be just really, authentic and real and raw and, all that. But then I decided, well, okay, I'll try to record it off the TV. But there was a couple places that I moved the camera, you could see the TV thing, and I could hear myself go, oh shit, like that or something like that. And then, so I had to edit that out because you could see the TV screen showing, and that was saying something like, oh crap, and so I had to edit that out so that you didn't hear that. So some of the places it was kind of funny. So the point is, this is real amateurish, but what I was trying to emphasize is, I realized I had been doing these video collages back in Denver when I was driving a limo and a taxi, and then ultimately washing dishes at Taki's restaurant for only $8 an hour, and doing these little mini documentaries inside the restaurant with the restaurant employees, the Mexican cooks, and the girl Angie Marie, and I was living in the Barrister building doing janitorial work. And so my attraction to all of this was the story that I was living in, and I was trying to document all of it before everything kind of blew up, towards the end. And so I'm still trying to do that because it's a big part of the story, because I realized that much of what's going on today with my attraction to making videos stem from that time. And so that was like the genesis. That was kind of like the origins of what's going on today. Because what happened just recently, now it's going on 2 months, when a friend of mine told me that I could make movies with my iPhone, with the iMovie, I started playing around with it. It seemed like I had done it before, and then I realized that I had done about 4 years. There was a point on the that you may have heard it, that I said that I've done over 2,000 2-hour films. When I was in Taki's restaurant, 2,000. At first I thought, wow, that's kind of exaggeration. That's a lot. But when I started thinking in terms of done it for 4 years, every single night, and I was doing like 2 or 3 of them a night, or and I added up, over the course of 4 years, I guess it was possible that I did 2,000. But irregardless, the point is I did a lot of editing to the point I started feeling like in my mind I was a film editor. Now, I wasn't doing it on a Hollywood film or even an independent film documentary or anything like that, on any kind of professional level as a film editor, but my mind, and the attention to detail and the way I was piecing things together, I felt like I was like a film editor. And I was actually making my own films, even though they weren't quote-unquote real films. So what I tried to demonstrate on the last segment, and I'm trying to do right now, is I pieced together things that it would appear that kind of flowed like a story, But all I was doing was taking clips and just piecing them together like I would if I was editing a film. So in fact, that's what I'm going to continue to do. And one of the things I want to do, I'm already 15 minutes into this video. One of the things I want to do present time, and because I drive a truck, and because we have, I'm doing over the road now, we have a terminal in Denver, in Aurora, that I've gone to several times. In fact, I've had several layovers. In fact, I've rented Airbnbs there. In fact, I have gone and walked around the same neighborhood where Taki's restaurant was. It's no longer there. And the Barrister Building is. And I walked around that old neighborhood where all of this took place. And I can do that today. In fact, I have a lot of crazy ideas, and I don't know if I'm going to actually follow through with them, but one of them is the Barrister Building is a 100-year-old building that actually, not once, but twice did janitorial work on 2 separate occasions in exchange for rent. The original owner that I work with, Jim Smith, I worked with twice, but then he ultimately sold the building to some other people that ended up kicking me out of the Barrister Building. So they no longer wanted me to do janitorial work in exchange for rent, and they just wanted to rent out my spot instead of just having someone live in that for free. And so that building actually has upgraded, remodeled studio apartments they're pretty pricey, but they're about $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Okay. Now, I've even considered the possibility, just because I thought it'd be so cool, to actually rent one for 6 months. There's a $700 deposit, and it would be $1,500 a month. But I just thought, how cool would it be to take about 6 months where I drove part-time enough to get by and had some money saved, to where I could actually make that 6 months a focus to where I did the kind of the post-production, kind of the modern day, now here is the neighborhood, here's the Barrister Building. I left Denver, Colorado with the clothes on my back on a one-way train ticket back to Southern California, not knowing exactly what I was going to do, with $250 to my name. And now, 12 years later, I'm able to go, I've come back to the Barrister Building and rented out a studio here where I used to do janitorial work for $1,500 a month. And I was able actually to take some time off and work part-time to be able to complete my film documentary here on location, something like that. I thought it'd be so cool to do that. Now, obviously, that would take a little bit of money, But in the grand scheme of things, it sounds like a lot of money, plus what I'm investing right now. But as far as what a regular film would cost, and what it may boil down to, this quote-unquote driving to Tokyo film or documentary or whatever you want to call it, might be just something that I do just because I enjoy it, and it's something I want to do, it's something I want to document, and nobody sees it. It ends up not going anywhere, but potentially to my own driving to Tokyo YouTube channel, and maybe just the subscribers see it. Now, this might seem really far out. I'll just complete this. But there's that guy named Chris Broad, who I actually follow. He has a channel called Broad in Japan. He's one of the few people I follow. But he ended up doing something like what I'm talking about. He ended up creating a pretty big following on his channel. And his particular channel, his videos get like 200,000-300,000 views whenever he posts something. He has hundreds of thousands. I think he has 2 million subscribers or something like that. So he decided, because he actually studied in college, he studied film production and making films and all that. Yeah, his background is actually that. So when he became very popular with YouTube, he thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and make my own film. So he ended up doing a whole film, and then in fact, I just don't know how YouTube works. If I can promote him and talk about him and actually show a film clip on my thing, because I'm actually promoting him. But his film that he did actually was posted on his channel. I can't remember how many views it got. Like, he had like a trailer, like, oh, upcoming film, and then he had the film, and it was as soon as it was posted on his site, I think he had something like, I don't know, 500,000 views right off the bat. Now, ultimately, you know, I don't think he even charged for the downloads or the streaming or anything like that. It wasn't like, to watch this film, it's going to cost, you know, $3.50 per, you know, person that should stream it or anything like that. I think he just did it because he wanted to do like a real film. And I can't remember how long it was. I think it might have been an hour, or kind of relatively short film. But anyway, I've got to go use the restroom. I'm going to motor down the highway. But all of this, the bottom line, all of this is just a work in progress, and it's definitely very amateurish, and definitely, you know, it's, I don't want to say it's make it up as you go, but a lot of the stuff that I'm posting both on Facebook and YouTube is what I would consider like foundation or concept pieces. In other words, I'm flushing out the story, not by thinking about it, but by actually doing it, you know, and I'm actually living the Driving to Tokyo film live, you know. It's just like, this is like a day in the life of a trucker who has aspirations of making a film called Driving to Tokyo. And Driving to Tokyo whole channel has to do with XYZ and this and this and that. And since I'm the author of it and the, you know, the producer of it with Mike's help, you know, I'm kind of like just going for it. So anyway, I'm going to close this off. I think this is like 21 minutes or so. And I'm going to go use the restroom, come back and drive. And so I just want to give you some heads up what you're watching and why there's so much of this stuff related to Taki's restaurant and the Barrister building and my Barrister studio and all the amateurish like CD or DVD burners and the laptops and all that shot with all the speakers and the wiring. That was actually done. That shot of that with all the laptops and the stuff that looked like, what is this mess here? That was actually shot in the Newhouse Hotel when I had to move all the stuff from the Barrister building to one room. And I had to take all of my studio and just compress it into one room, but I still continued making DVDs and videos back in the day. And this is again back in about 2007. And I ultimately left Denver on the train, one-way train ticket to Southern California in January of 2009. So I'm going to close this out and go use the restroom, get back on the road.